Question 2 is that a box has red and black discs, and disc is selected at random, the color is noted, and then the disc is replaced. And it's important that they tell you that the disc is replaced, because that means each trial or each time you select a disc was independent of what happened before. So the probabilities of each time you put your hand in the box is independent of the previous. If you didn't replace it, then the probability of drawing out a second disc would depend on what happened when you first drew your hand, put your hand in and drew out a disc. And so it's important here that they did note that the disc is replaced, which means we can use the binomial probability function. And so you make 8 selections. What's the probability that it happens once? And so what we're saying is, what's the probability that the event X, the chance of getting a disc, is exactly one time when we have 8 trials. And so we have 8 trials. We want this to happen once, and the probability of it being black when we put our hand in the box is 5/40ths. We can make that a decimal if we want, and we're only going to want that to happen one time, and then the other 7 times that we put our hand in the box, we want to pick one of these 35 red discs. And from that, we can then calculate what the probability is. Now that we've worked that out on our calculator, we know that this probability is 0.393, rounding it to 3 significant figures. And so there's for part 1. So then part 2 is asking what's the chance that you will select at least once while you pick a black disc. And the way you can think about it is the probability that it's greater than or equal to 1, or you could also think of at least once means the opposite of it is getting 0 picked. So you have 2 options here. You could, on your calculator, figure out what's the probability that it's greater than or equal to 1, or you can think of is 1 take away the probability that it equals to 0. And like I say, on your calculator, you can use either of these 2 choices. Just for this one in particular, I thought I would figure out the probability of it equaling 0. that probability is 0.344. So we have 1 minus 0.344, which gives you a final probability of 0.656. And again, either of these methods will work, just your choice. I just wanted to highlight that when you see a question that says at least once, oftentimes it's easier to find out what's the chance of it then not happening at all. So having 0 times that you pick a black disk and subtracting that from 1 to give you then the probability of it happening at least once. And part B of question 2 says that this process of selecting and replacing is carried out 400 times. What is the expected number of black disks to be drawn? And basically it's just, yes, you have 400 times that you're drawing out a disk times the probability of getting a black disk, which would be 5 out of 40. And that simply can simplify here. If we wanted to divide by 40, so 1, divide by 40, 10, and we would expect that you would draw 50 black disks if you did this process 400 times.